again, and it's great to see you. I'm Jeff Owen, retired Chief Operating Officer of the American Bankers Association, and here from the Washington, D.C. area today.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm JC Polanco. I'm an attorney here in New York City. I live in the Bronx and I teach at the City University of New York. I'm very excited to be here with you today. Good luck. Thank you.
I'm Ellen Iwamoto. I'm the Director of Civics Programs at the Annenberg Public Policy Center at the University of Pennsylvania. Good to see you again. Welcome back. And we look forward to hearing your presentation.
Great. Could you introduce yourselves and your teacher, please?
Good afternoon, judges. I'm Kylie Ravenel.
I'm Maddie Catron.
I'm Annie Akis.
And we are from Faith Lutheran Middle School. Our teacher is Mrs. Carroll, and we will be performing Unit 6. We are glad that you can be with us today. We are ready to begin our speech portion.
Great, thank you. Okay, I will read the question and then we'll begin. Unit 6, what are the responsibilities of citizens? Specifically, question 2. What role, if any, should the United States play in helping other nations or promoting democratic ideas and principles around the world? What are the advantages and disadvantages of nation states? What criteria should be used to determine which countries should be helped and what kind and level of help the United States should offer those countries? And in what ways do nations of the world interact with each other? You may begin.
Marcus Tullius Cicero once said, "Non nobis solum nati sumus," which means not for ourselves alone are we born. America must accept this cause as our country is affluent and full of immunities, not only economically, but also in principles listed in the Constitution. The role of the United States should not be to interfere or to punish, as each country is sovereign and rules as needed. EEOC versus Arabian American Oil Company demonstrates our nations don't have a say in other countries' matters. Some may disagree and say that America should first look out for herself. However, the US can lead by example and promote ideals that are successful, which benefits both sides. A past example of this is the Constitution, which is the longest living document that has inspired most of the world's constitutions, which have all been written in the past 40 years.
Moreover, Europe and Asia have both been heavily influenced by America. While it has been slow, Japan, China, South Korea, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Taiwan are all developing ties with the US. This shows how the US has done its part so far in influencing and interacting with other countries. But America can go further by updating immigration policies, encouraging diplomatic efforts, and demonstrating diversity. The US can also exhibit unity as a nation. The Constitution says that we will establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare in the preamble. As more countries adopt the Constitution, these ideals will become more universal.
Countries or nation states such as the US have their advantages and disadvantages. Advantages include that citizens identify with a country, group, or tribe. Where ethnic identity is dominant, belonging to people of the same race is very important. Nations allow a group of people to negotiate and communicate with other groups as a bigger entity. Erik Erikson once said, "In the social jungle of human existence, there is no feeling of being alive without a sense of identity." America demonstrates unification in Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution, stating that the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. The members of the nation-state of America are guaranteed fundamental rights listed in the Constitution.
In recent times of immigration, many people have been placed in horrible conditions that leave them feeling stripped of pride and admiration for their country and future home. This leads to the disadvantages of a nation-state. With the widespread issue of racism and discrimination, too much diversity of ethnic, religious, and/or political beliefs have a harder time working together. This is apparent in the three affiliated tribes of the Fort Berthold Reservation versus United States case, which demonstrated the power of government versus a minority group and the means of miscommunication. The main problems tie into human abuses of power, including lack of truth, accountability, or justice.
From the millions of immigrants looking to enter the U.S. each year, around 25,000 people come seeking asylum. We believe that there should be certain categories that a country that is seeking help can fall into. The first would be a natural disaster. They are inevitable, cannot be prevented, and detrimental to poor places. The second would be armed conflict. 25% of the total global refugee population are people from Syria who are currently facing conflict. The well-being of millions depends on if countries can offer places asylum.
The third category is persecution, which can range anywhere from being punished for race, religion, nationality, or political opinion. The U.S. can then sort the refugees and countries into the aforementioned categories and offer them help. Jorge Ramos once said, "The greatest nations are defined by how they treat their weakest inhabitants." It is ultimately up to the U.S. how they treat these asylum cases, but they should be given great thought and consideration before the final decision is made.
It is necessary that other nations associate with each other in different ways. Arthur Powell Davies says, "The world is now too small for anything but brotherhood." One of the largest ways countries interact with each other is through treaties. Treaties are necessary for our country to prevent war, protect citizens from nuclear and terrorist threats, and get benefits from the other nation states. Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution says that the President has the power to make treaties with the advice and consent of the Senate. We are now ready for questions.
Great, thank you very, very much. I'll lead off here. You talked about the Constitution and its impact across the world. Let's drill down a little bit. What elements of American constitutionalism have influenced other countries?
Well, we have a thing called the Philadelphia Formula, which is in the Constitution, and this has been adopted both internally or universally all around the world.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
To add on to that, our Constitution was one of the first, and it just kind of shows that we are a very well thought out country, and a lot of other countries around the world have looked out to this and have adopted constitutions of their own, and have also adopted many of the ideals that our Constitution has.
Okay.
To add America also helped the influence of creating NATO, which is a European group that helps build up the economy.
Great. Thank you.
Just to follow up real quick, what is the Philadelphia Formula you said a little early? What is that? Is that what you said?
Yes, it is. I'm actually not completely sure what it is, but I know that it was instilled in the Constitution and that it was interpreted and adopted by constitutions all around the world.
Oh, thanks. Hey, listen, you know, your parents are working very hard and they pay a lot in taxes every year. I just want to get an idea from you. What are the costs or benefits for us sending our tax dollars to other countries in the form of foreign aid?
Some of the benefits of this is allies. We have many allies, and they can help us if we are under some kind of conflict, but we also help them and look out for them.
While this isn't necessarily foreign aid, the crisis in India with the second wave of COVID, IMANA, which is a global nonprofit medical relief organization, has amassed over $1 million to help airlift much needed supplies to India. So while this isn't foreign aid, it's more of a social media produced charity. It is something that we can use. We use our money to help other countries avoid death and despair.
Also, aiding other countries will help them be able to rebuild a government if they're in poorer places, causing less immigrants to come in, and so they can thrive in their country besides having to totally switch their life and come to a new one.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
So my question is, you touched a little bit on the pandemic. Obviously a global crisis, very unequal among the countries as to access to vaccines, production of vaccines, poverty level. So what role do you think the United States should take as a world leader or how do you think other nations should be, working together or interacting with each other regarding the pandemic and vaccines?
Well, for one, a lot of countries are making it so that you have to either be vaccinated or have a negative COVID test to travel to their country, or even throughout the states there's talk of that. And this just kind of helps decrease the spread of COVID, helping the whole world essentially.
Dwight D. Eisenhower said that a person that values privileges over its principles will soon lose both. As our country is flourishing and our COVID cases, they're not necessarily going down a lot, but we are getting better with the continuous distribution of the vaccine. Other countries such as India, they're very lacking in the vaccine, and we have to just make it a group effort to use our privileges and kind of get it to a universal standard of vaccines. Some people may not want to get the vaccine, but it should be highly encouraged.
Another view is about some people not wanting to get the vaccine is they're not able to travel without having the vaccine, and that can go against their First Amendment, which is freedom of religion. So it's kind of controversial with the vaccine because some people may not believe in it because of their religion.
Thank you.
Kelly, we have time for one more?
Yep, we do.
Okay, I'd like to ask you to give me some important examples of treaties and agreements with other nations, and specifically, why are they important?
Well, we can date all the way back to the Revolutionary War. When we were fighting with Britain, we had to sign with the French a treaty that we would help them when they're in war. And they're one of the main reasons that we actually won the Revolutionary War, because without Lafayette, we probably wouldn't have enough supplies to win. And that is important because, of course, without that, we would still be under the monarchy ruling.
In Filatigua versus Peñarrola, it was very apparent that a treaty was something that helped a family get justice for their family member who was tortured in New York. And so treaties such as that, and also treaties like NATO, United Nations, the Marshall Plan, these are all European economic recovery programs, and that they were very instrumental in creating a better economy for Europe, and the United States led the creation to those.
Thomas Jefferson said, "Peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all, entangling alliances with none." This ties in because we help other nations and they help us, leading to a better society for all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Kelly, do we have time or?
We have about 2 minutes, so yep.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Thank you. Can you tell me about organizations like NATO? Why are these important to the security of the United States? Or other organizations, international organizations? You can name some if you'd like.
I believe that NATO is important for the United States because it establishes that it's one of our core principles to help other nations, and that we don't just look out for ourselves. It's very important that we're projecting that we have privileges and that we're putting them to use and helping other nations create things that will not only benefit themselves but also benefit us.
Also, to add on, when we help other nations, they will also help us. So when we're in need, then we can always have that backup plan to benefit ourselves.
Thank you so much.
So I really appreciated the references you made to the Constitution, to the preamble. I believe you touched on the treaty making clause. Are there other aspects of the Constitution that allow the United States to, have this global role in different aspects, such as war or humanitarian aid or treaties, that type of thing?
Well, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10, it prevents piracies and felonies on the high seas. And this, it may sound kind of hard to believe that this is still happening, but Somali pirates on our high seas. So I think this is a really good example of showing how the United States kind of takes in the Constitution, it takes a global look at things. And even though high seas, they're not necessarily part of the United States, but we are doing things to protect the waters and protecting citizens from harm.
Great, thank
Also
you.
in Article 6.
Oh, I think we had time, sorry.
Great, thank you so much. This was a great use of all of our time, and I thought you did a great job of laying things out in the beginning. It was a good breadth and depth of coverage there of the issues, and I felt that you did a nice job of answering our questions. I was particularly interested in the historic references there and tying those into the questions, and they weren't just superfluous, they actually were on point. And so thanks very much. It was a good job, and I wish you well for the rest of the day, and it was great being with you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your answers to your follow-up are very, very good. I want to thank you for that. And you were able to use some modern examples and tie it to the Constitution. And I think you really were succinct in answering the questions. And when you didn't know, you said, I didn't know, I don't know. That's an answer. And it's better than trying to make something up. So props to you for that. And thank you very much for your wonderful presentation.
I have to echo my fellow judges' comments about the breadth and depth of your response. Your presentation, first of all, I thought covered all the questions very well, and you gave solid examples to support your arguments. You obviously were very well prepared based on your responsiveness to the questions, not only jumping in and answering quickly, but having very good answers to those questions. So congratulations, and commend you and your teachers for becoming so well prepared and doing such a great job. And good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we'd like to thank you again for taking time out of the last 2 days to come and judge us.